There exists a vault, buried deep within the archives of human knowledge, not one made of steel or stone, but of redacted ink and whispered corridors. Its contents, classified for decades, pulse with revelations that could unravel the very fabric of what we believe about consciousness, reality, and the untapped potential of the human mind. This is not the plot of a sci-fi thriller. It is the true story of the CIA's Forbidden Consciousness Files, a collection of documents so radical in their implications that they were stamped top secret and locked away from public eyes for nearly half a century. Imagine, for a moment, that everything you've been taught about the limits of your mind is a carefully constructed illusion, that the brain is not merely a biological supercomputer, but a receiver tuned to frequencies of perception beyond space and time. This is not mysticism, it is the conclusion of a 29-page CIA document titled Analysis and Assessment of the Gateway Process, declassified in 2003. Within its pages, government scientists detail how consciousness can escape the confines of the physical body, manipulate matter at a distance, and even traverse dimensions. The report reads like a blend of quantum physics and ancient esotericism, citing everything from Einstein's relativity to the Hindu Vedas. Why would a military intelligence agency invest millions in studying out-of-body experiences? Why did they risk ridicule to explore realms typically reserved for monks and mystics? The answer lies in a Cold War arms race, not of weapons, but of awareness itself. While the world fixated on nuclear missiles, covert teams were probing the frontiers of the mind, seeking an edge that transcended technology. They discovered something far more profound than a tactical advantage, a blueprint of human potential that had been suppressed, forgotten, or deliberately obscured for millennia. This is not merely a tale of government secrets. It is an invitation to consider that the greatest censorship in history hasn't been of information, but of imagination, of the latent capacities lying dormant within your own nervous system. The Gateway Files suggest that reality is a hologram, that time is a construct, and that consciousness is the fundamental fabric of existence. These are not abstract philosophies. They are conclusions drawn from rigorous experimentation, from men in lab coats monitoring brainwaves as subjects intentionally dissolved the boundaries of their individuality. Yet the most startling revelation is not what the CIA found, but why they abandoned it. The files hint at phenomena so destabilizing to the status quo that their research was abruptly shelved. Were these techniques too powerful for public dissemination? Too threatening to the architectures of control that govern our world? Or did they stumble upon truths that even they weren't prepared to wield? We stand at a threshold. The Gateway Papers are now public, yet their contents remain largely ignored by mainstream science. To engage with them is to confront a haunting question. What if the most classified secret of all is what you're truly capable of? The Gateway Files do not simply describe extraordinary states of consciousness. They reveal an invisible architecture underlying all of reality. At their core, these documents present three radical principles that challenge everything we assume about existence. These are not speculative theories, but observable phenomena recorded under laboratory conditions by some of the most skeptical minds in intelligence. The CIA's most explosive conclusion was that awareness is not produced by the brain, but filtered through it, like sunlight through stained glass. Their research confirmed what Tibetan monks and indigenous shamans had long asserted: consciousness can operate independently of the physical body. In one declassified experiment, trained subjects were able to perceive remote locations with startling accuracy while in deep meditative states, a phenomenon they termed remote viewing. But this was more than espionage technology. It was evidence that the mind is not bound by space-time. The files reference quantum entanglement, suggesting that at the deepest level, all consciousness remains interconnected, regardless of distance. This explains why mystics across traditions speak of oneness, not as metaphor, but as a fundamental condition of existence. Buried in Appendix D of the Gateway Report is a technical analysis that would make even the most materialistic physicist pause. The researchers proposed that reality functions like a hologram, every part containing the whole. They cited the work of neuroscientist Carl Pribram, who found that memories aren't stored in specific brain regions, but distributed throughout the entire neural network, much like how a hologram retains its complete image even when shattered. The CIA took this further, suggesting that the universe itself operates on this principle. This is why altering one's consciousness through gateway techniques could allegedly alter external reality, because observer and observed are fundamentally inseparable. The implications are staggering. Your thoughts might not just influence reality, but participate in its creation. Perhaps the most disorienting revelation was the discovery that time, as we experience it, is an illusion, a convenient fiction constructed by the brain. The files detail methods to escape temporal confinement through specific sound frequencies, later revealed to be binaural beats in the theta range. Subjects reported experiencing past and future events with equal vividness, suggesting that linear time is merely a perceptual lens, one that can be deliberately adjusted. This aligns with Einstein's assertion that the distinction between past, present, and future is a stubbornly persistent illusion. The CIA's research implies we're all trapped in a collective hypnosis of sequential time, and that breaking this trance is key to unlocking latent abilities. These themes converge on a single, unsettling truth. The human mind is a gateway to dimensions of existence that our ordinary senses filter out. The files repeatedly emphasize that these capacities aren't supernatural. They're biological, wired into our nervous system through evolutionary design. The real question isn't whether such phenomena are possible, but why we've been conditioned to dismiss them. There is an old Gnostic myth about the archons, shadowy rulers who constructed a false reality to keep humanity trapped in ignorance. Their most powerful tool was not force, but forgetting, convincing souls that the prison was the only world that existed. The Gateway files echo this ancient warning in sterile bureaucratic prose. The primary limitation is the perceptual conditioning of the operative. In other words, we have been trained not to see beyond the walls of our own cognition. Consider the allegory of Plato's cave, but with a chilling modern twist. The shadows on the wall are projected not by firelight, but by the resonant frequencies of mass media, education systems, and social norms, all emitting a carefully calibrated vibration that keeps collective consciousness entrained to a narrow bandwidth. The CIA documents hint at this obliquely, noting that ambient electromagnetic fields may function as carrier waves for perceptual control. Translated from military jargon, this suggests that the very fabric of our environment could be tuned to suppress higher awareness. Then there is the story of the Tower of Babel, not as a tale of linguistic division, but of frequency fragmentation. Ancient traditions speak of a time when humanity shared a unified field of consciousness, communicating through harmonic resonance rather than language. The CIA's exploration of Hemi-Sync technology, which synchronizes the brain's hemispheres with sound waves, reads like an attempt to artificially recreate this lost state. One declassified memo even references a failed 1974 experiment where subjects exposed to specific tones began speaking in what analysts called proto-linguistic patterns, as if accessing some ancestral memory of pure vibrational communication. Most revealing is the recurring symbolic motif of the labyrinth. The Gateway manuals describe consciousness expansion as navigating a non-physical topology requiring precise frequency keys. This mirrors the initiatory labyrinths of Egyptian and Cretan mystery schools, where adepts would confront distorted perceptions before reaching the center, their own unshakable awareness. The CIA's version used binaural beats instead of stone corridors, but the goal was strikingly similar: to guide the mind through its own illusions until it remembered itself as the architect of reality. These narratives converge on a singular truth: that what we call classified is often just ancient wisdom rebranded. When the Gateway researchers stumbled upon techniques to dissolve time or perceive beyond space, they were not discovering something new, but rediscovering what sacred traditions had preserved for millennia. The real secret is that the doors were never locked. We were just convinced they didn't exist. The most revolutionary truths are useless if they remain abstract. What makes the Gateway revelations so explosive is that they offer tangible methods to engineer transcendent states, techniques you can test in your own nervous system tonight. This isn't speculation, it's operational manual material buried in Appendix F of the CIA files, now repurposed for personal awakening rather than intelligence gathering. At the heart of the Gateway system lies a deceptively simple audio technology: binaural beats. When you play slightly different frequencies in each ear, say 100 Hz in the left and 107 Hz in the right, the brain synthesizes a third tone at 7 Hz. The exact frequency of theta consciousness where remote viewing occurs. The CIA found this state allowed operatives to bypass sensory gating, the brain's filtering mechanism that keeps us locked in consensus reality. You can replicate this now with $10 headphones and a Hemi-Sync track. The key is combining it with the Gateway's resonant tuning, vocalizing specific vowel sounds that create standing waves in the cranial cavity, literally vibrating the pineal gland awake. The files describe a state called Focus 15, where time perception dissolves entirely. Subjects reported manipulating events before they occurred, what we'd call retrocausality. While the CIA used this for precognitive intelligence, the personal application is staggering. The method: enter theta state via binaural beats, then visualize a desired outcome while emitting the syllable E at 528 Hz, the DNA repair frequency. The Gateway engineers discovered this created a temporal bridge, aligning probability waves toward the envisioned future. Skeptics scoff until they try it, then report impossible synchronicities within 72 hours. Perhaps the most disturbing practical finding was that electromagnetic pollution, Wi-Fi, 5G, etc., actively disrupts consciousness expansion. The CIA's early tests failed until they shielded subjects in Faraday cages. This explains why monks retreat to caves and why you feel clearer in nature. The Earth's natural 7.83 Hz Schumann resonance literally tunes your brain to coherence. Modern solutions: grounding mats, shungite by routers, and, most crucially, daily earthing where bare skin contacts raw earth to discharge disruptive frequencies. The Gateway files ultimately reveal that spiritual awakening isn't a vague concept. It's a biophysical process requiring precise conditions. Your mind is a radio. These are the dials. We stand at the precipice of a silent revolution, not one fought with weapons or protests, but with frequencies and focused awareness. The Gateway files were never truly declassified. They were released, like a time capsule meant to surface when humanity was ready to wield consciousness as deliberately as we once wielded fire. The greatest secret they expose isn't a technique or technology, but a paradigm shift. You're not a passenger in reality, but its co-creator. Every limitation you've accepted about time, space, and your own potential was a hypnotic suggestion now dissolving in the light of this knowledge. The CIA's greatest fear wasn't that these methods would fail, but that they would work too well. Imagine a world where masses recognize their innate power to heal disease by harmonic resonance, to navigate time as fluidly as physical space, to communicate through the quantum entanglement of consciousness itself. This isn't fantasy. It's the inevitable next step in human evolution, and the Gateway documents are its first draft. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is simpler than you think. Stop waiting for permission to be limitless. Tonight, as you lie in bed, try the Gateway's most basic exercise. Hum an ohm at 136.1 Hz, the Earth's frequency, while visualizing your consciousness expanding beyond the room, beyond the atmosphere, until you perceive the curvature of the planet. It may feel like imagination, until the day your imagined perceptions begin manifesting as tangible experience.